Thousands of years ago, with no supermarket, no medicine cabinet, and no food label telling you what was safe to eat, you see berries, roots, plants, and mushrooms all around you. But which ones are food, and which ones should you avoid? The answer could mean the difference between a successful meal and a dangerous mistake. Around you are hundreds of plants. Some have delicious-looking berries. Others have beautiful flowers. Some might keep you alive when food is scarce. Others could make you violently sick or even kill you. So how did ancient humans figure out which plants were poisonous? The surprising answer is that they probably learned through a combination of observation, experimentation, memory, and generations of shared knowledge. There was no chemistry textbook explaining which plant contained toxic compounds. Instead, survival itself became the teacher. Early humans lived extremely close to nature. They watched animals constantly. If a deer repeatedly ate the leaves of one plant without getting sick, that plant might attract human attention. If animals avoided another plant, people could become cautious. But animals were not perfect guides. A plant that was harmless to one animal could still be dangerous to humans, so observation was only the beginning. Humans also learned by carefully comparing plants. They noticed differences in smell, taste, color, shape, texture, and where a plant grew. Some plants had bitter or extremely unpleasant tastes. Others caused irritation in the mouth. Some produced strange effects after being eaten. These clues did not always mean a plant was poisonous, but over generations, people could connect certain characteristics with danger. The most important discovery may have been that plants were not simply divided into safe and dangerous. Some plants could be eaten only after special preparation. People learned that boiling, soaking, drying, fermenting, or removing certain parts could sometimes make particular plants safer to consume. In other cases, only the leaves, roots, seeds, or fruits were useful, while another part was dangerous. Imagine a small community discovering a plant during a difficult season. Someone might try it, perhaps after watching animals eat it. If nothing happened, others might cautiously try it too. If someone became sick, everyone remembered. That experience could become part of the community's survival knowledge. The next generation would not need to repeat the same mistake because the lesson had already been passed down. This is where human memory became incredibly powerful. Ancient people did not have written databases, but they had stories, traditions, and practical knowledge. A dangerous plant could become known through a simple warning: never eat those red berries, or this root must be prepared before eating. Such information could survive for centuries through oral traditions. And humans had another advantage: pattern recognition. Our brains are extremely good at connecting events. If someone ate a particular plant and later became sick, people could remember the connection. If the same thing happened repeatedly, the warning became stronger. Over time, communities could build surprisingly detailed knowledge about their local environment. But learning about poisonous plants was not always a simple trial and error. In fact, blindly experimenting could be extremely dangerous. People likely used caution. They could test unfamiliar foods in tiny quantities, wait for effects, and avoid consuming large amounts immediately. They might also compare unfamiliar plants with known species and examine whether different parts of the plant behaved differently. Some plants were especially deceptive because they looked attractive or edible. Bright berries, colorful flowers, or familiar-looking leaves could create a false sense of safety. This meant that appearance alone was never enough. A plant could look perfectly harmless while containing powerful defensive chemicals. Why would plants evolve these poisons in the first place? Because plants cannot run away from predators. Animals eat them, insects attack them, and other organisms compete with them. Producing unpleasant or toxic chemicals is one way plants protect themselves. These chemicals can taste bitter, cause digestive problems, interfere with the nervous system, or damage cells. Ancient humans did not know the chemistry behind any of this. They did not know the names of molecules or understand how toxins interacted with the human body. But they did not need to understand the chemistry to understand the result. If eating a certain plant repeatedly caused illness, that was enough information to treat it with suspicion. Interestingly, poisonous plants could sometimes become useful. Humans discovered that some plants that were dangerous as food had other properties. Certain plants could be used for medicine, dyes, fibers, tools, or hunting. In some cultures, toxic plant substances were deliberately used on hunting weapons. This shows how sophisticated traditional plant knowledge could become. But there was another major factor: geography. A person living near a tropical forest would have completely different plant knowledge from someone living in a cold grassland. Communities learned the plants that surrounded them. Their knowledge was local, detailed, and practical. A plant considered familiar and useful in one region could be completely unknown to people somewhere else. Over thousands of years, this knowledge accumulated. Parents taught children. Elders taught younger hunters and gatherers. Experienced foragers became valuable members of their communities because they knew where useful plants grew and which ones should be avoided. Knowledge about plants was not just interesting, it could determine who survived a difficult season. Eventually, humans began recording some of this knowledge. As writing systems developed, information about plants, food, medicine, and poisons could be preserved beyond individual memory. Much later, scientific methods allowed humans to identify the actual chemicals responsible for toxicity and test them systematically. But the foundation came much earlier. Ancient humans did not have laboratories, microscopes, or scientific databases. Instead, they had something just as important for survival: thousands of generations of accumulated observation. They watched animals, they watched plants, they remembered mistakes, they shared warnings, they experimented cautiously, and they passed their knowledge to the next generation. So the next time you see a wild plant and wonder whether it is safe to eat, remember how much human history is hidden behind that simple question. Every edible berry, every useful root, and every poisonous leaf represents a story of discovery. Some lessons were probably learned safely through observation. Others may have been learned through painful mistakes. But over countless generations, humans became experts at reading the natural world. And perhaps that is the most remarkable part. Ancient humans didn't need to know the chemical name of a poison to know they should stay away from it. They simply had to remember what happened the last time someone ate it. Thanks for watching.